Welcome one and welcome all to the greatest show of them all. It is the NFC East Mixtape Volume 165. No, we still don't have permanent answers. Yes, we are still bothered by that. Yes, more than you are, but yes, also flattered that you are on some level. He is Brandon Gowton from Bleeding Green Nation. I am RJ Ochoa from Blogging the Boys. BLG, 2 weeks in a row. First time in a long time that's been the case for us. Mixtaping.
Yeah, we're not like fully back, but we're doing it more than we had been doing it. So there is that, at least in this weird limbo existence that we still find ourselves in more than a year later. But we appreciate everyone who does still follow along. And I think I've seen some people asking if this is available on podcast feeds. It is not. So just to clear up any confusion or the questions I saw about that, it's really living exclusively here on both the Bleeding Green Nation and the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. So that's the place. So subscribe. If you want to see more of these videos, subscribe to those channels as it makes sense if you're an Eagles fan or Cowboys fan or whatever. And that's where you'll be able to find it. And if you're one of the Cowboys fans, you support a coward team that tried to unsuccessfully ban the Tush Push, which is here to stay. By your own admission, this was the final verdict. This should have been the final ruling. We can't talk about it anymore. Either ban it or don't ban it, but make a decision now. And the decision is, it's here to stay.
Just quickly, because we've had new people pop up or whatever over the last year, the lack of a podcast home is not of our doing. If it were up to us, there would be a place to get this as a podcast. Traditionally, there used to be a place. So just for the record, not because I don't want anyone mad at us, but just simply for the record, the way this show exists right now is the only way that it can exist relative to what we
as dumb as that sounds. Yes.
So okay, I just wanted to tidy that up. Look, my thoughts on the Tush Push are out there, and you know what, I simply am exhausted of this. We were actually no spoilers, but talking about the Survivor season finale that aired last night for us because we're doing this live. And you said that you like were kind of apathetic about it, like you were like I didn't really care, like I wasn't really moved. That's where I'm at on the Tush Push at this point, just from exhaustion. Now, my stance, if I have to pick one, is well documented. I think anyone who's arguing against it is a coward and is lame. I think that we all agree that the Packers, being the team pushing it, are just a face for the league pushing it. So I understand you making fun of Packers side of content, but I also think that in a weird way, it's oddly unfair to the Packers as a whole. But that's what makes this whole thing stupid. I'm so tired of talking about this. I really, truly, and because the Packers are the team who had to fall on the grenade, if I was the Eagles, I would hate myself, but I would do nothing but the Tush Push the entire game. I would rub their face in it. And what is bothering me at this point, if anything is like stirring up emotion, is that this whole thing is just feeding the ego of Eagles fans. Because how could it not? Like, if you're an Eagles fan, how could you not be like, y'all are all scared, y'all are all cowards? Yep. Like, that's what everyone is kind of saying by voting to ban it.
Especially like on May 21st when there's really nothing else going on, and it's like, oh, here's this like really cool development. You get to celebrate. It was a win kind of either way. If they ban it, it's like, oh, they banned this play that the Super Bowl champions did. Everyone's afraid of us. You can have all these new enemies, or you can do all that and you still get to keep it. Even better. That's I think the ideal scenario for the Eagles in this case. I think the Packers, they might be being used to some extent. I don't believe, entirely. Like, I think they at some level, and Mark Murphy had already like written about wanting to see the Tush Push ban back in like a mailbag post on the Packers website.
I think he's following the code red. That's all I'm saying as far as Mark Murphy individually. That's my point.
And I did a podcast with Sheil Kapadia from the Ringers Philly special, and Cliff too. Shout out Cliff. So have more extended thoughts if you guys want to check that out, if anyone is not Tush pushed out. But one thing I did say on there, one thing we did talk about, is how would really love to see the Eagles just come out, and even if it means going 3 and out on their first drive, just run the play 3 times and then punt the ball if you need to.
It's kind of like you've seen The Replacements, I imagine, with Keanu Reeves.
I have not, actually.
It's a great football movie. The whole premise is that there's been a strike and they play with their replacement players. Keanu Reeves is the scab quarterback, whatever. And the like starting quarterback crosses the picket line for the like big game at the very end, which is against Dallas, which proves like when this movie was made, because every bad, like awesome team was Dallas, because that was the time. Anyway, so the crossing quarterback sucks and everybody hates him because he's a loser. They want Keanu Reeves back. So he comes back at halftime, and the very first play, they're getting their ass kicked. They're like, okay, let's just like, I forget what they call the play, but the very first play, they all get a penalty because they all just like punch the dude opposite of them. Like just to like set the tone, like
Right.
to your point. So my last take on this, because we have other things to get to, is that I'm just trying to help you. If you have a target, if you have a like, these are the clowns, these are the losers from the Tush Push, I don't think it's the Packers. I get why you feel that way. I think it's the Bills. I think the Bills are the biggest frauds here. Like the Bills are the team who does it more than anyone, who aren't successful at it and are now trying to ban it. It's like the Bills are the ultimate, what was your headline? Whiny crybabies or whatever. So like the Bills are the ones that are like, we want to do it. Oh, we're bad at it. Oh, we can't do it well. So let's get rid of it because we're not doing it well and we don't like that someone else is. Like that is a whiny crybaby attitude in my mind.
I still think it's the Packers. Obviously, Roger Goodell is up there, but Bills is a good call out, especially as it relates to Terry Pagula, their owner, previously having said that like Jason Kelce retired because of the Tush Push, which is like pretty much putting words into Jason Kelce's mouth, which he then addressed on his podcast a little bit after that story got out there, and then was probably the genesis of him going to the meeting in Minnesota yesterday and kind of like being there in person to be like, I didn't actually say that. You know, here are points of clarity on that. So I think that's kind of an embarrassing look for him to be like, well, look, see, even Jason Kelce supports its banning. And then he comes back and is literally like, no, that's not what I said at all. So, yeah, it's a tough look for it, honestly. Well, wait, also, every team the Eagles are playing this year voted to ban this. So that's also, I think, a pretty tough look and hard to separate from the Eagles are being targeted on this, except for the Detroit Lions, the Dan Campbell Lions, nothing but respect for a team.
I don't respect them. I hate the Lions.
I mean, Dan Campbell's thing is like macho and toughness, and he walks the walk with that. He could have voted to ban this, and he was the only team from the Eagles schedule that did not. One of the only two teams from the list of teams that didn't vote to ban it from the NFC, in addition to the Saints, where your boy Kellen Moore is now the head coach. So respect to those teams and disrespect to all the losers and cowards who tried to unsay. It's so much more embarrassing that it didn't even go through, and now you like tried to do it, and everyone gets to know you failed.
Yeah, like this is a tough look, and the like continual like, oh, well, we're just tabling this. This is like, no, you lost. Like you lost. Like just accept it. Like you can't just keep doing it until it happens or whatever. Like or until like what?
They probably will though.
Like Lane Johnson retires or Jalen Hurts is
until the Eagles are bad again, because that's a big part of this. Like people don't like to hear that maybe, but it's true. In 2022, when they were on top of the league, went to the Super Bowl, there was a lot of talk about needing to get rid of that, especially because it just jumped onto the scene. Nothing really happened in terms of proposing the ban. But in 2023, as they were good, that was more that same conversation was happening. But as soon as they totally collapsed down the stretch and last offseason, there was no vote. There was no talk about banning this. As soon as they sucked again, no one was talking about it. And then in 2024, they win the Super Bowl, and now suddenly it's a hot button issue again. So you cannot separate it from their success and also people being mad at it. So there's absolutely a jealousy or bitterness, whatever you want to call it, angle to this, inarguably.
I don't disagree with you, but I would just offer that I don't think that that's exclusive to the Eagles, because there was all the too high conversation around Mahomes and blah, blah, blah. Like it's literally a matter of like, who's good right now and what are they doing that like we can't stop or whatever we want to replicate, we want to copy, we want to get rid of. Like it's lame and it's dumb and it's silly and it's ridiculous and whatever. But we don't have to talk about the Tush Push again.
Last thing I want to say on that is just own it then. Like just own it. If that's the case, then you can own it. And I think it's lame, but at least you're being honest.
Well, I think that
so much of the conversation is dishonest, and that's what really annoys me. Like, oh, safety or pace of play. That's BS. Everyone knows that's BS. It's just like come up with a real reason if you don't like it.
I think some teams are owning their cowardice, to be like fair relative to what you're asking. But that's why I think the Bills are the biggest losers, because the Bills are the team who won't own anything. The Bills are the team who are trying to do it and not doing it successfully.
Yeah, that's
weird. And then hiding behind the things that you're talking about. Like at least the Packers, for whatever credit you want to give them, are like, hey, we're afraid of it. We suck. Like we're betas or whatever. But the Bills are the ones who are like, suck. Oh no, we're awesome. We're whatever. And so, yeah, that's, okay. Tush Push enough.
All right.
Do you want to do the schedule? Do you want to do Hard Knocks? I feel like we kind of have to do Hard Knocks first because
let's talk. Well, that's quick. We can talk about Hard Knocks quicker than we can the schedule.
That also came. Actually, can I flex on the NFC East in reference to the division as a whole, because I hinted that I hated the Lions. the Lions are acting like a team that has never been good ever before, and that are like, oh, now we've been good for 2 years. So like, everyone can forget anything that ever happened before that. Like we're the kings of all this stuff. I'm so happy that their proposal, and I know it got tabled because of the 18 games or whatever, blah, blah, but their proposal to reseed the playoffs didn't pass. Like, what a bunch of stupid losers. Like, this is actually this isn't even about divisional pride, but this is no divisional pride. And I thought about it, and I'm so proud of the NFC East that neither the Cowboys nor the Eagles, who are a very forward-thinking team when it comes to rule suggestions and rule proposals, that none of them, or not even Washington or New York, said after the 2022 season when when the NFC East had 3 of the final 4 teams in the conference on the NFC side of the playoff picture, that none of them were like, oh, well, we want to, reseed because it's unfair. The Cowboys, what did they do? I know you make fun of it because you can't ever give the Cowboys credit for anything, but they went to Tampa, they beat the brakes off the Buccaneers, and that was that. They weren't like, oh, team. we should have hosted this playoff game, and this was so unfair and blah blah blah. Like, no, but the Lions and Vikings bemoaning over this when they both lost their first playoff games. The Vikings, the team in question, who didn't even have to go to LA because of the tragedy of the wildfires. Like, I mean, what a bunch of losers. The NFC North is full of them. I hate this division. It isn't even on the list. It is my list. The NFC North.
Wow. Well, that's your take this year, right? Like the NFC North is really going to underachieve relative to what people think it is. I don't really have a strong take on their proposal. I just felt like it wasn't going to pass. Especially like, I don't know why, but just somehow because it's in May, it feels like just shorter before the season to make like this really big change. Maybe they'll come back with it next year and tweak some things a little bit more. You'll have more time to like digest all of that. But it seemed like one of those proposals to me that kind of sets the table for the future more than it was about this year and really happening this year.
Stupid. Again, there's a reason there's only one NFC beast, a term that you and I coined. Imagine calling them the NFC Borth. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't work the same way. So, like, step back and recognize that, one division isn't afraid of it. Like, that's what bothers me is this is like, well, we're worried about this one hypothetical or whatever. If you get there, then just deal with it. Like, especially if you want to be the machismo, bravado, like, oh, let's tush push, team or whatever. So the Lions are kind of the face of this list for me. David Smith, by the way, said NFC Borth. Sounds about right. That's who they are to me. They are the NFC Borth in many ways.
I don't know what that means, but that's good.
On Wednesday, when all these beta losers were crying, it was also announced that the aforementioned Bills, the soft Bills, are going to be the Hard Knocks team, the traditional Hard Knocks team. But back in 2021, the last time the Cowboys were on the traditional Hard Knocks, the NFL introduced an in-season version of the show as well that NFL Films does. I believe that year it chronicled the Indianapolis Colts. They've also chronicled the Arizona Cardinals. This is different and separate from All or Nothing, which was, had a moment in the sun. The Cowboys were on that show as well.
And that just go away.
Yeah, after the Cowboys, they were the last team who did it. The Cardinals did it in 2015, and the Rams did it in 2016 after being on Hard Knocks. And I might be wrong. I think the Panthers did it 1 year as well.
Eagles did it, I think, in 2019. They were on it 1 year.
Okay, so it was like 5 years long. I guess then we shifted to
COVID killed it.
Well, and then we shifted into an in-season Hard Knocks. So we had the Colts and Cardinals, and then last year, because look, I love these things. Like I watch any and every single piece of NFL Films content I can get.
Yeah.
But the in-season Hard Knocks are kind of a chore. Some of it is because it's in season and like you've got stuff, like I already have to watch football on Mondays and Thursdays and Sundays and some Saturdays and whatever. So like squeezing this in, like, Survivor season 50 is coming up. You know what I mean? Like you got to compete with other things. And so that being said, last year was the AFC North. They get to be the North, not the Borth. And this year it will be the NFC Beast. All 4 teams will be represented. This typically debuts about halfway through the season, just for context. Pretty cool. I don't know what that means for us and what we're going to do about it, but I feel like it means something.
Yeah. I know the Eagles have been, unlike the Cowboys, who I think are generally, my perception is like a little bit more, media friendly and less like restrictive. The Eagles are pretty like restrictive. That All or Nothing series they did in 2019 really didn't reveal as much as you probably would hope It's like pretty controlled, so I don't know what that is going to look like and how much we're really going to get to see. But anything more than what we do normally is a win, especially for us as people who do content. So I don't know what to expect fully, but I guess I'm looking forward to it.
Something that's interesting is that there are rules that I don't know, maybe guidelines is a better way to put it, that can exempt a team from being on the traditional Hard Knocks if you have a new head coach, if you, I believe, have
They
been a
changed
playoff
this.
team.
Do you remember
But
this?
they did change it, but I think that was still in play. Like if you were a new head coach, they at least they used to be along these lines. If you'd been a playoff team in the last 2 years, like again, these were kind of the roundabout guidelines, whatever.
And then if you had done it within the last like
right,
10
if you'd
years
done
or
it within
so.
like the last decade or something. So Cowboys have done in the last decade. They have a new head coach. Eagles just won the Super Bowl. The Commanders
right.
just lost the NFC Championship game. The only technically eligible team are the New York Giants. And they will probably be the team who's chronicled the least of the four.
Biased, but I do think it's like an interesting division to follow. The reigning Super Bowl champs, a team that's like considered going to be a very popular bet, to win the NFC and like make this next step. But also, I think enough people would say like, okay, maybe it could also go the way of like the Houston Texans last year. There could be a sophomore slump, could go kind of either way. They make a leap, they don't. Cowboys, getting Dak back. What are they? And then you have the Giants, who are probably going to be bad, but they have multiple quarterbacks. And is Jackson Dart? They have a rookie quarterback. Is he going to be any good? Can Joe Shane and Brian Dable save their job? So there are, I think, enough interesting storylines to justify this as well.
Well, and there will be a lot of intra-division games that are chronicled throughout it all, which segues us perfectly into the schedule talk. Let's get to it. This is the Philadelphia Eagles schedule. Obviously, we go in that order. Let me zoom in, make it nice and pretty. Let me see. How is maybe a little bit more? How's that?
Let me look.
I think that works. I think that's good. Yeah. So this is the Eagles schedule, and obviously, since we last chatted, it was revealed that they're hosting the Cowboys in the season opener. A little note on my end: I hate that people call this Thursday Night Football. It's not Thursday Night Football.
It's on a big you kind of gripe thing.
It's not. It is a Thursday game, but it's the NBC team. It's the Sunday Night Football team. Doing it on a Thursday. That crew also does a Sunday night game in week 1, but they just so happen to get this in. The Thursday Night Football package begins in week 2.
So for East Coasters, by the way, this is Central Time listed here, just in case you're confused. Because I did see that at first, and I was like, "Oh, the game's earlier." And I was like, "Wait a minute." I'm gonna go with a win here for the Eagles.
Are we predicting? So we're doing season records.
We always do that. Yeah, we're gonna do some quick win-loss predictions. I'm gonna go win.
Are you writing these down? Because I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, I have mine already done. I pulled up my article. I'm just going to stick to what I did for that article. So yes.
Do you want to go? You do Eagles. I do Eagles. We do go one by one, or do we want to debate? I think we want to debate each game. Let's go. You go first.
Yeah, I'm going to go. Eagles win.
Okay.
Open the season against the Cowboys. Raise the Super Bowl banner in front of Jerry Jones. And then you're saying
if you want to piss like somebody off, like he's probably the person who cares the least. I mean, so really,
whatever.
Okay.
Cowboys fans will be there too. That's going to be a really cool atmosphere. I think you should shout out to our friends from Cowboys versus Birds. What's the name?
Birds versus Boys.
Birds versus Boys. Choked on the name there. Bad job by me. And it's been so long since we've been on there. Well, that might change. We'll see. TBD. I think it's going to be an awesome atmosphere. I do think you should. If you're ever going to come up for a game, this would actually make sense because you would have time, depending on what your schedule looks like, leading up to the season and then being able to get home too without having to worry about into next week. But whatever. I think it's going to be an awesome atmosphere. I think the Eagles win. What about you?
I am planning on doing a road game this year. We'll get to the Cowboys schedule, but I say this with like no disrespect to Philadelphia. But I'm taking
disrespect to Philadelphia.
I'm taking my 3-year-old, and I just don't. I don't want to do that.
You're fine. This is dumb. You're fine. Yeah, 3-year-olds never come to. There are no 3-year-olds in Philadelphia. You're right.
Okay, so let's go. I mean, I guess we should talk about the opener. It's too big of a thing to just gloss over. This is the Cowboys since they began making a big old show of the opener like this. It's their third appearance in the window. They also visited the Giants when they hung their second banner, the 2011 team, so the 2012 opener. I don't know if you remember, that game actually was on a Wednesday, not a Thursday. In a rare move, the NFL moved for somebody else because that never happens. The Democratic National Convention was on that Thursday, so they played on Wednesday. Dallas won that game, and Dallas also went to Tampa in 2021 when they raised their banner. They did not win, but came very, very close. So, that was the first Micah Parsons game.
I've been campaigning for this for years, as you know,
and
I think you've been supporting me with that. It was getting ridiculous. It's like we've been 25 years. This will be 25 years since we've had an Eagles-Cowboys Week 1 game. I know you can be like, oh, they don't want to burn it Week 1. Like, come on, what are we going to go, like 30 years without it? That's ridiculous. Like, put it in Week 1, especially, again, as you already know, but I will say to the audience, like, with the context of we've gotten so few meaningful games between the starting quarterbacks in these games, and it's possible Dak and or Jalen Hurts get injured before Week 1, but the chances of that happening are much less likely than in season, and why can't we just get, like, the most possibility of a game between them, both healthy, and do it in Week 1? And so I'm very grateful they are finally doing this. It was so overdue. They had to do it, and they did it.
We'll get to this when we get to the Cowboys schedule, but I'm grateful that Cowboys are knocking off a cold weather climate in September, which is a pro, in that sense for the Cowboys side of things. But I agree with, obviously, and have agreed with all the things that you said in the past. This is the first Cowboys-Eagles game in Philly in September since 2015. I
remember going to the last one. That's crazy. 10 years ago.
That was not Week 1. That was the DeMarco Murray.
That was a horrible game. I mean, not just because the Eagles lost, but it was just a aesthetically horrible game to watch. Both teams sucked.
It was Week 2, and Dez Bryant had gotten hurt the week before when Dallas beat the Giants, and Tony Romo got hurt in that game, and so Dallas got to 2-0, and it was a lost season for both teams, obviously. But
that game was like 20-10, I think, final score. It was just like, it was brutal. Yeah, it was brutal game.
But Eagles prediction, like, we got to get through all these. So you got that.
Well, this is a big game to talk about, but I have 1-0. What do you have?
I think the Cowboys are going to win this game. That's okay. So
sure. All right. So then they go to the Chiefs, who will be coming back from Brazil. So the Eagles have a little bit of a rest advantage. The Chiefs play on that Friday, the night after the Thursday. I have them lose on YouTube, like we are right now. I have the Eagles losing here because it's kind of like an inverse of what happened in 2023, where the Eagles lost the Super Bowl to the Chiefs, but then they beat them in the regular season. I think the inverse happens here, especially going to Kansas City.
I think they win this game.
Wow.
I do. And I think that it becomes a like Nick Sirianni kind of owns you thing outside of the first Super Bowl, obviously. There was that infamous moment in the tunnels at GEHA Field. They pay a lot of money to be called that. You can't just call it Arrowhead. You know what I mean? And I think the Eagles win. And I think that I might even be willing to say I think the Chiefs lose Week 1 to the Chargers, and I think there's this like, oh my gosh, they lost the Super Bowl.
The Eagles broke the Chiefs.
I mean, I think the Chiefs are somewhat broken. Like, they're still more put together than most teams, but like they'll
be okay.
They're a broken version relative to like their supremely dominant selves. That's all. Okay. I'll go a few here. So I think the Eagles are 1-1. I think that the Rams are. Like there's a handful of games for every team that I feel like you can put in the like this could go either way category. I think maybe Dallas is one of those for you. I think LA is one of those. I could see that. So like call that what you will. But I think they beat Tampa. I think that they beat Denver. I think I obviously beat the Giants. I think Minnesota is
I'm trying to track this. So like you're going out of order here. Okay, what do you have them doing against the Rams?
I'm counting. I'm tabulating. I think the Eagles in the games we're looking at here, the first 8 games, I think they lose to Dallas, and I think they lose to the Rams.
1-2 start.
That's it.
Okay, so then you have them going. What is that?
6-2 through 6-2
at the bye. Before entering the bye week. I have them entering the bye week at 6-2 as well, and I have the losses coming to the Chiefs and to Tampa, where they've just struggled against that team specifically, and also like that was their worst game last season against the Bucs, and it was specifically in like a 1:00 start in Florida, hot weather, where the Bucs are wearing their white jerseys in those games because they're smart and they're making the other team wear like the dark jerseys and that being in the sun there. So and specifically Todd Bowles has probably been like the best defensive guy at defending Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense. So yeah, I have the Eagles going 6-2.
I know we agree with this with each other, but it's super dumb to be done with a division rival before your bye week. It's super dumb to be done with a division rival before Halloween. And it's super dumb, beyond dumb, to play a division rival twice in 3 weeks. And all three of those things are true relative to the Eagles and Giants.
And twice within the Eagles' schedule this year, which we'll get to in the second half, which is super dumb. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, what if there's an injury? You know what I mean? And like a guy's on injured reserve. Let's say someone goes on injured reserve like after the Broncos game, and now that player has to miss both of the Giants games. Like, I don't think that like tanks the Eagles season as a whole. But let's say it was Saquon. Like, then you take that angle out because of like why? Like, you have to stack these games so close together. I think it's really dumb.
There are a lot of dumb things, or things that I think are dumb or you think are dumb that like, and I don't even mean football things, but that like someone could present a counter to, and we could like hear that out and be like, okay, that makes sense. Like, I still think it's dumb, but at least there is like some logic. I have never heard a logical reason behind this that I can be like, oh, you know, that kind of makes sense, I guess. So whatever.
It's just like there should be, when you play your division rival twice over the course of the season, those should generally be kind of like different iterations maybe of the team, because the team evolves through the course of the season. And that's what makes the games interesting when they happen more than once, because it's not just the location change. It's like, oh, this guy's healthy, this guy isn't healthy, this team has kind of figured it out a little bit, this team is slipping a little bit. Like, there should be some kind of dynamics, and that's probably not changing in the course of a couple weeks. At least it's not as dumb as when like the Commanders play the Giants like back-to-back weeks. They had like a bye in between. They had
the bye in between.
That's the height of dumb.
And that was in the middle of a 5-game stretch against the entire division, if you recall. But the bye was in there for the like 6-week run, but it was very stupid. Okay. So we both have them 6-2.
Yep.
So do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? How do you want to do this?
So this is kind of,
they are gonna beat the piss out of the Packers. Like, I mean, it is gonna be like 52-6. Like, it is gonna be so bad. And I can't say that I will root for it, because I would never do that. But I will feel like it is justice for, and shout out to our friend Justice, our coworker, obviously. But so it won't be that kind of justice, but it will be justice for Green Bay, even if they were forced to, proposing the tush push stuff.
Yeah, I have respect for Packers fans who, and there were some I feel like I saw, especially Justice and Acme Packing Company, where they're like, they hated the tush push ban proposal. Like, they thought that was so embarrassing, because it is. But some people weren't just homers about it, and were actually like, and in fairness, I swear, if the Eagles were in the same spot, I would also be criticizing them, because that is cowardly stuff. And anyway, the Eagles having a full bye before this game seems like a nice little boost here going into this game. I don't know for sure if they win against the Packers. I'm going to say it is, but I think they win one of these two against the Green Bay or the Lions. And that Lions game will be tough, because the Eagles will be playing a short week coming back from Green Bay and then having to play the Lions on that Sunday. So I think that's a tough spot for them. And I think they lose to the Lions. I'm
with you. I think they split these games. So like, pick whichever one you want.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they split Dallas. So like, I'll have them losing this game. And I guess you would have Dallas winning this game.
I mean, they typically do not sweep the Cowboys, and maybe that changes, but yeah, I have them not sweeping the Cowboys here.
So you've got them 1-2 here. And I've got them 2-1, because I had them losing to the Cowboys in the opener. I think they beat the Bears on Black Friday. The Bears are such a question mark. I mean, I wish we had the Caleb Williams thing to react to. Like, that was crazy. Like, I can't imagine if there was a story about like Jalen Hurts like preferring to play for the Cowboys or something like that. Would insane. Just be incredible theater. But so I think they're 2-2 to this point. I think they beat the Chargers. I think they beat the Raiders. And
Chip Kelly's return to Philadelphia. He's the Raiders offensive coordinator.
I think that the only losses I see here are one of the Packers and Lions and the Bills. And maybe one of the Washington games. I'm not even willing to say that's a guarantee. So like, I'll call this 2.5 losses. So that puts them at 13-4 or 12-5 potentially is my season prediction.
Yeah. So I have them losing to one of the Packers and Lions. I'm going to call it Lions, to the Cowboys. And then I have them losing in Buffalo. I think that's a tough game too. At that point in the season, I'm sweeping Washington. I think they're going to sweep Washington, in part because I don't know fully what that Week 18 game, could be. So, the resting starters, whatever. But I think they beat Washington twice because, as I've consistently said, I just think people are a little too high on Washington. I don't think I didn't say they win every game against the division. I had them losing against the Cowboys. I think they go 5-1 in the division. But yeah, I think they beat Washington and they end up 12-5. I think their over under is 11. Is it 11.5? It's high. I think it's the highest in the league. So I have them barely just going over, slightly above the projected over under win total, but 12-5, and that's also not like particularly high. Like other people see like 13-4, obviously, even better than that. The team that won the Super Bowl, it's like, oh, we're not going to lose at all. I don't buy that. I have said that before you can pick them to win the Super Bowl, you have to pick them to win the division probably twice in a row, and that just doesn't happen. So 12-5.
Yeah, I mean I'm somewhere in that territory. Like the Washington thing is unique because of the Week 18, but I mean, if push came to shove, no pun intended, relative to this conversation, I would probably pick them to sweep Washington. I think and I think this is true for every NFL team. There's a game you can't explain. There's a like what the hell, like maybe it's the Raiders game, maybe it's you get swept by Washington. You know what I mean? There's a
Chargers
weird
be a loss.
Right. And then, maybe they beat both Green Bay and Detroit, right? Like the math kind of figures itself out. But yeah, 12-5, 13-4, I think is pretty fair for the Eagles right now.
All right. So we will see if they repeat as division winners, I guess, depending on what else we're doing here. We're going to go Washington next, the second place Washington football Commanders, who are going to have a new stadium in the future.
Good for them.
Josh Harris is also a coward and voted against the Tush Push, even though he owns a team in Philadelphia and has
that is
fans.
The dumbest possible logic for this. But
he's such a loser. Also, he would not care enough to defend that play if that was his franchise, the way that Jeffrey Lurie did.
I do think it's super cool how Jeffrey Lurie is like riding for it. Like that is
100%. I think people would take
all right,
for granted.
Enough on the Tush Push. Enough.
Let's just
no more Tush Push.
One more thing. It's not even about that. It's about ownership in general. I think that not every owner would do that.
Okay. Well, anyway,
my point.
Josh Harris is a great owner of the Washington Commanders. There's no doubt about that.
He definitely loves the Commanders. He definitely doesn't neglect that team.
I think they beat the Giants. I think there's zero doubt about that.
Fair to say.
See, like I think Green Bay is a little fraudulent. Like I don't know that I really, like I don't believe in Washington a ton, but I also don't believe
short
in
week
Green
on
Bay.
The road though.
I know. I think that we will look back at this point, it's been a year, so like maybe 4 more years, and we will look back at, like, I don't mean to make this about the Cowboys, but the Cowboys can be like a kingmaker for other teams, right? Like, and I think like we will look back and like it will never be as good for the Packers as it was that one day in the playoffs against the Cowboys. Like that might have been it. So I think I'm going to take Washington to. No, I'll give Green Bay that, but I think they beat Vegas. I think they beat Atlanta.
Sure.
I think they beat the Chargers. I think they
lose to one of the Chargers or Bears.
No, I think they beat the Giants, lose to the Packers. They rip off 3 in a row. They lose to Chicago, and then split Dallas, Kansas City. I think that goes either way for them.
So what do you have them here for the first 8 weeks?
I've got a loss at Green Bay, a loss to Chicago, and a loss to one of Dallas or Kansas City. So 4 losses, so 4-4.
Oh, 4-4. I think I'm going to go with you. I think they lose at Green Bay, short week on the road. I still think the Packers are, a good team in the NFC. Like I think they're gonna be in the playoff mix, I believe. Looking
almost half the teams in the conference make it.
True, exactly. So not saying much, but I do think they're in that mix and could win their division potentially. I think the Chargers beat them. They have to go out there for a game there. Also should mention, by the way, the Commanders have the 3rd most disadvantageous, is that a word? They're the 3rd biggest disparity in terms of negative rest. Like they have negative 13 days of rest in the league this year. The Lions have the number 1 and plus 13. That's probably in part because they have such a tough schedule that offsets that. But the Commanders are in a bad spot.
This Lions coddling is so
in terms of having rest. So that's another factor to consider in all of this and trying to fade them like I am. So I have losses in Green Bay. I have a loss in Los Angeles or the Bears. I think they win one of those 2 games, not both. And then I think I'm going to take them to lose to the Cowboys and the Chiefs. So I will go 4-4 as well.
I thought you had. Okay, no, we're good. Okay.
Yeah.
So 4-4, we each have them at.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, this is I hadn't fully. This is 5 weeks in a row at home. 4 games with the bye week in there.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild. I would almost be
wild.
mad about the bye week placement. Like you want the bye when you like need it. You know what I'm saying? Like so that kind of sucks. But I don't think much of Seattle this year. I think they lose to Detroit. I don't think much of Miami. I think they lose to Denver. So I'll say the Lions and Broncos games are losses. And then I think they lose to Dallas again. And I think they lose the first Eagles game, and the second one is a bit questionable, like we said, just based on circumstance. So that's what I've got: Lions, Broncos, Cowboys, or Eagles, Cowboys. That's 4 more, so 4, maybe 5 more losses at least. So
what are you going with? 4 or 5?
I'll say 4 because I think the Eagles don't need that last one. So I think it's. I think that puts them at 9-8 is my record prediction.
Wow. Yeah. I think I had them similar. I did this activity quickly just to get a sense of what I had everyone else going. And I had them around the same thing. I think they lose to the Lions here. I think they lose to definitely at least one of Miami, Denver, and Minnesota. I'll give them Minnesota. And I'll say one of Denver and Miami. So that is that. And then I think they beat the Giants. I think the Eagles beat them both. I already said that. But I do think they beat the Cowboys once this year. So
I thought it was interesting.
10-7 maybe.
So Dallas is one of 3 teams playing on Thanksgiving and Christmas. I guess we'll get to their schedule, but I just find it strange that they're the noon game on Christmas. That the Cowboys this late. I mean, I know it's Christmas Day, but like this late in the season, they're not on at noon. You know what I mean? Like they're the 3 o'clock game or whatever. So it's kind of interesting. Maybe the NFL wanted the noon bump. They wanted to make sure people tuned in.
Well, I think clearly the way the schedule is designed, Eagles or the schedule makers see it as an Eagles Commanders division in terms of why they stacked it at the end there, which is again very dumb that the Eagles and Commanders are playing each other in week 16 and then again week 18. So close together.
I don't think that that's necessarily true based on the schedule at all. But
why wouldn't you?
Let's get to the Cowboys.
Think those teams.
Let's get to the Cowboys so we can have this discussion. That's my point. So this is the Cowboys schedule. You have them losing. I have them winning this game at week 1 at Philly. Cowboys are the first team in NFL history to play 4 games on a Thursday. Do you want to apologize?
No, because they still don't have to play a road. Or maybe they've won. I don't see it here, but they have a road.
They have one that is coming off
Sunday to Thursday.
They have one. That's the Christmas game.
Players, coaches will say that is like one of the toughest stretches you could possibly do.
Okay, well,
they never have to.
They have 4 Thursday games overall. So
yeah, but then they get advantage on the back end of that. It's not like a disadvantage.
Okay,
when they're at home.
We have them different results. Week 1, week 2 against the Giants. By the way, both Cowboys Giants games are at noon this year. It is the first time since 2005 that this has been the case. So at the very, very, very least, the NFL schedule makers have elevated Washington above the Giants as far as marketability.
Yeah, I think they're not counting on the Giants to be very good, which is a smart bet. I have the Cowboys losing to the Eagles. I think they lose to the Packers for sure. And then I think they lose to. What do you have them here? What record are you?
I think that they will drop one of Chicago or Green Bay. Like that's like one of the kind of 1-1 stretches. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they drop Washington, but I think they win that game, and I think they lose at Denver. That's a weird. That's that's their Tampa. They haven't beaten the Broncos since 1995.
Yeah, famously, you were. The Broncos are frauds.
But everything I said about the Broncos,
you weren't wrong.
True.
But then they just smoked the Cowboys, and I was like, damn it.
I mean, it was just funny that I was the person who said it, but like I was not wrong. I was very,
but it's just very funny that it came back to not work in the Cowboys' favor.
it didn't affect what I said. The Cowboys were still a playoff team that year. Like you lose
in that
weird
game.
games.
I'm saying in that game, you think they would be able to beat them, and they didn't.
But so I think
whatever.
they'll lose one of Chicago or Green Bay, Denver, and then again, I don't believe in Washington. I think we all, especially based on the chat, like we all kind of think there is like a little bit of like clock hitting midnight, everything's a pumpkin again type stuff. But I reserve the right to change opinion on that. I'm very confident, as I think you are, that they'll beat New York, both New Yorks, that they'll split Chicago, Green Bay, and that they'll beat Carolina.
Yeah, I have them at 5-3 here. I think it's generous too, or fair, not generous, fair.
I have them at 6-2, and I mentioned this a moment ago. The game I think that I'm going to be traveling to is that Week 5 game at New York. I've never been to New York. I know this isn't that.
New York, yeah, in New York. You're gonna be like downtown New York. You're getting a slice. You can just walk around New York City, right there where the Giants play in New York City.
So
the and not an hour away.
The early tentative plan is to go for a long weekend and do all of that stuff before the game. But then obviously go to the game. So I've got them at 6-2, and you have them at 5-3.
Scared to come to Philadelphia because you actually don't think Eagles are going.
I just don't think Philadelphia is that great of a city.
To the Cowboys.
Like what is notable about Philadelphia?
Yeah, that's true. There's no significant cultural history.
Back-to-back Monday night games. Granted, the bye sandwiched in there, but like that is strange. Like that,
it's a weird one.
It is weird,
especially before like the Thanksgiving, and Christmas. Like it's not like in the first half of the schedule. It's like all of this kind of stacked here in the back half.
I think that they will lose this Cardinals game. That's another weird
Jonathan Gannon's Cardinals.
It's another weird. Well, the same ones that aided the Cowboys 2 years ago in the divisional race by beating the Eagles.
I think this is a game where the Cardinals have not yet fallen apart, and they will fall apart, but not here yet.
They always play well against the Cowboys. Kyler Murray, do you remember his comment? I'm going to warn the people who have children in the background. A couple of years ago, he was asked about, obviously growing up where he did, if he grew up a Cowboys fan, and he said no, and he said why, and he said they were always ass when I was a kid. So, but he's kind of owned them. Like the Cowboys have this weird history with the Cardinals, former NFC East team, and they've also played a lot on Monday Night Football in the past. Like this particular duo. It's just strange, but whatever. I think they'll lose. So I've got them at 6-3. You have them at 5-4, I guess, at the bye. And then they come out. This is the Cowboys' first trip to Las Vegas in the regular season. The last time they visited the Raiders, they were in Oakland. That was the Jeans Territory index card game, if you recall. And yeah, so but I think they beat the Raiders. I have them beating the Eagles in week 1, so I think they lose this game. So I've got them dropping. So this is the 4th loss for me. I think they beat the Chiefs on Thanksgiving.
Wow.
And I think I think look, we don't have to do the I've seen fans of whatever team say this and act like that speaks for the whole fan base. We don't have to do that thing, but there will be people, there will be Cowboys fans who act like this is the Super Bowl. When they beat the Chiefs on Thanksgiving, people will walk around like it is the biggest deal of all time. This is also another weird quirk. Mahomes' first start at AT&T Stadium. When they visited, he was a rookie. That was if you remember, the Tyreek Hill Hail Mary that was not a Hail Mary, but that was Alex Smith.
Yes.
So I've got them in this stretch just losing to the Eagles. So that's 4 losses for me. I think that they probably they might lose 2 of these 3. This is the run that everyone is concerned about. So I think they lose at Detroit, and Detroit is such a beta loser fraud team that they're like, we got to beat the Cowboys because 2 years ago we had this weird penalty, blah, 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 whatever. So
they smoked the Cowboys last year.
You mean they smoked the Cowboys that did nothing and were a horrible team and
literally one of the worst seasons in franchise history. Yes,
I know, but who predicted that? I mean, so that wasn't a shock to me. But that's the 5th loss. And I think that might be it. I don't fear the Vikings for anyone. I don't fear the Chargers. I think they win this game at Washington. And then this New York thing is kind of tentative. So I've got them somewhere around 12-5, 11-6 was my prediction when I did this.
You've been splitting with Washington?
No.
Oh, you've been sweeping Washington.
Yeah.
Wow. Washington going 0-4 against the Eagles and Cowboys, according to our predictions.
11-6, and you mentioned win totals for the Eagles. The Cowboys is 7.5, and I don't know what your full prediction is, but I know it's not shy of 7 wins.
It's not shy of 7 wins, but don't you think that's like a suspiciously low number? Like, I mean, Vegas famously does not get it wrong, and that's like pretty low. That's lower than I would think. So that's that makes me go, when there's like a game, when the line, like we used to do for Friday, TGI football / the look ahead, Friday football Friday. Like when there's just a line that's so out of whack that you're like, it's too good to be true. That almost seems to be too good to be true to take the over. I would like the over there, but I think 11's a big jump from 7.5. So
I think that what I'm about to say is very difficult for most people to comprehend. I think it's almost impossible for Brandon Lee Gowton to comprehend because you can never like contextualize who the Cowboys are because of your like blind hatred for them. But there is a weird like tax associated with them because of like who they are and the like memeability of all that and the joke of it all. And so it doesn't get rationalized in a fair way. This same phenomenon happened in 2021 coming off that 2020 season. And like, look, no one, like, I'm not denying that last season was an objective failure for the team, but it was an objective failure because the two people who they signed in free agency last year, this is not a joke, were Zeke and Eric Kendricks. That was it. Like that was literally it. And then Dak got hurt and missed a bunch of time. Micah was hurt and missed some time.
Dak was also terrible before he got hurt. And that is a big factor. And he's only getting older and he's only had more injuries that pile up. And also we don't know what Brian Schottenheimer is other than he's been a really bad offensive coordinator at every place he has been.
I'm in no way saying that Dak wasn't terrible. I am telling you that the roster constructed around them was horrendous. And I am also telling you that in the 9 seasons that Dak has been the quarterback of this team, they have won fewer than 7 games.
And the division has been weaker in those seasons and is stronger than it ever has
my
been.
My point
arguably.
is it's like there's a lot of data to
things
support.
have changed, though, is my point. I think you're weighing a lot on the past.
But this isn't your like, the line is too good to be true thing. There's a lot of data.
That's a really low line. Is that not a really low line?
What is your record prediction? Is it 8 and 9? Because if it is,
but I'm saying.
If you agree that the line is suspect. Like if you unless your record prediction is 8 and 9, you're like, I don't know, this line is fishy to me. Like, what is your record prediction?
I'm gonna go with also 10 and 7.
Okay, so you have them clearing this by 2.5 wins, but you think it's fishy.
It is a fishy line. How is it not?
Then are you bad at analyzing this because you have them winning 10 games?
I think I am giving them some benefit of the doubt that maybe I will regret giving them later on.
What is the benefit? What are the 3 games that you are suspect on in hindsight 6 months from now?
What do you mean?
Like, what are the 3 games that are the benefit of the doubt that you're giving them that are bumping them from 7 wins, which would be the under?
I don't know specifically. It could be anything because we don't.
Well, you don't know a lot of things, and you're throwing on all this stuff. You're pontificating without any kind of real answer.
I'm just saying 7.5 seems suspiciously low to me.
You're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You're like, well, 7.5 seems really fishy, but I trust myself to give them 10 wins. Like, both things can't be true.
I'm not saying my prediction's 100. Yeah, my prediction's 100% correct. There's no way I can be wrong about it.
It's 30% off. They still, in all likelihood, clear the 7.5.
Sure. So like I said, I feel good about them clearing the 7.5. I just think maybe I'm going too high.
Time with this, like, I don't know. It feels kind of.
All right, I'm dropping them to 9 and 8. Then how about that?
Well, that still clears.
That's 1.5 games. That's not crazy.
That gives them an incredible benefit.
1 game.
It's an incredible mathematical benefit.
You keep talking, I'm going to drop it lower. All right, Cowboys are winning 0 games this year. That's my official prediction.
Then bet it. You live in a place where you can bet it. Bet the under if you're that confident.
I'm not. I would stay away from the line because it's fishy. It's my point. That's what I'm saying.
You hang out with the Bills and Packers, BLG, and the Lions if we're at it. Wow. Embarrassing.
7.5 is a low line.
It's incredibly low. That's the whole point.
Vegas is typically.
Do you have them open? We agreed that the Commanders were going 8 and 9, right? What is their win total?
No, I had the Commanders at 10 and 7.
Okay, well, what is the?
I have the Cowboys at 9 and 8 now because you were such a baby about it.
Adam's Exploits says that my fandom is showing. I think your fandom is showing by being unwilling to recognize.
I like this font, by the way. The chat font seems new.
It is called.
That's not the usual font. That's like more like.
I changed it rounded. A while back. I don't know how to look where I changed it or how to what it's. Oh, it's under style. It's called Graduate. Is what it's called.
I kind of don't. I guess like how it's all caps though.
Yeah, me too. This is Inter.
Yeah. Well, Fandoom.
Oh, that's
stood out to me more now that it's in a different font. I like that better. It actually looks cleaner.
This is called Creepster.
No. For
But
Halloween
that
only.
works for
You can only
fan
do it
boom.
for Halloween.
That works for
It
fan
does.
boom.
You can do that on Halloween, but that's it.
DM Sands. DM Sands. What about Amaranth? Oh,
No,
it's too
that's
bold.
bad.
Yeah,
that's
I don't
bad.
like it.
It's a bad one.
Amida?
No.
Not good for.
Good thing this isn't an audio podcast.
BioRhyme.
Like, what do you? This could not be. It's probably not interesting for visual people.
I kind of like this. This is called Cabin.
I don't hate it. It's fine.
Cabin in the Woods is an underrated movie. What was Washington's over/under?
Is that the one with Batista? He's in that.
It's the one that Joss Whedon directed.
It wasn't that long ago, right?
No, Cabin in the Woods was like 2012 or something.
I'm thinking about the one where like the world is ending outside of
That's
the
it.
cabin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Then yeah.
Cabin in the Woods.
Was in that.
Man, I was close. It's 2011.
I didn't see that.
The cast or Chris Hemsworth is in it.
Dave Bautista? No.
No.
I'm thinking of something else then. Who's also in the cabin. I feel like.
Wow. Okay. What was Washington's win total?
Knock at the cabin is what I'm thinking of.
What was Washington's win total?
Theirs pretty high too, from what I recall. I should have that.
So everyone's line is too high except for the Eagles.
Let's get on to the Giants, and I'll get that to you.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait, it's 9.5.
Wow. So right around what we're predicting, as opposed to the Cowboys, who were both predicting well north of the number in question. Interesting.
Eagles are 11.5. I was right about that.
Wow. So again, kind of chalk for what we're saying. It's almost as if there's a weird tax associated with the Cowboys, the point that RJ was saying. But whatever.
And then the Giants are.
Don't tell us. Oh, no. I don't want to be contaminated before we predict their schedule.
Right. I already said it, but okay.
Adam, by the way, said that you have to watch The Replacements. So
I mean, really I just don't watch a ton of movies. It's not like anything against a certain movie. It's always that I just don't. Movies are just so long. It's
really good. The team is called the Washington Sentinels, and they play at I don't know if it was called M&T Bank at the time, but it is that stadium where the Raiders.
I do like Keanu Reeves. Big fan of the John Wick movies.
Orlando Jones is in the movie too. The I don't know his name, but the guy who plays Roy in The Office, he plays the tight end, and he's deaf in the movie. It's really cool. So, I agree.
Cool that he's deaf. That's pretty mean.
What a great point from Costas. Dallas has a rest advantage in week 1. Eagles last played in February, and Dallas's last game was in January. That's so true. Okay. Anyway. Giants. Oh, by the way, the Giants and the Cowboys both starting off their seasons with 2 division games. Stupid. I think that's very dumb. I don't like that. I think that's silly in general to do to any team. The divisional games are too important.
2 division road games, nonetheless.
Yeah, at least Dallas gets one of them at home. Like, this is crazy to do to the Giants. Like, this is like you're rooting for Brian Daboll to fail.
This is a really tough schedule. And where are the Giants at? Or on the rest disparity? They are actually they're tied with the Eagles. They are +4. The Cowboys, by the way, are +5. So all the NFC East teams except the Commanders have relatively favorable rest schedules here. But I am going to go. Well, it'll be easier to count the wins for the Giants, probably.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go down this road. What we're looking at on screen, I think they maybe win in New Orleans.
I was going to say they can win in New Orleans because we don't even know who the Saints quarterback is going to be in that roster.
And I don't love. I know Kellen Moore won the Super Bowl with the Eagles, but also we don't know what he's going to.
As if he didn't happen.
We don't know what he's going to be like as a head coach. There's also that. I think so. I'm willing to say that maybe they pull off another weird one. Maybe they get to 2 wins somehow. Maybe they beat the Chargers. Maybe
I was
they
going to say, or
the
they could beat the Chargers, maybe. Yeah. But I think they win one of those 2.
I'll say they have 2 wins on this screen.
I say they have 1.
Okay, well, I'm being generous, so 2. So let's move down. I think the Niners are going to be, by the way, congratulations to our very good friend Rob Stats-Guerrera at the Gold Standard Network, which should be where you go for 49ers content. I don't know why you would if you're at one of these places, but recently reached 50,000 YouTube subscribers. So serious kudos to Stats. But I think he's going to be covering a subpar team in 2025, to say the least. But whatever.
So they're over under set at 10.5, the 49ers. And I think they have a really easy schedule. I think if we did this game with them, we'd probably be picking not too many losses.
So anyway, I don't think the Giants are beating them as down on San Francisco as I am. But they could beat Chicago. This really is a matter of
I'm going to give them a win over the Bears.
Yeah, you kind of could beat. So I've got them at 3. They could certainly win at New England. God, that Monday night game is going to suck. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Jackson Dart versus.
That is one of those, like, you go out and do the Christmas shopping in that window and just check this on your phone.
Do you think Jackson Dart is starting by this point?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. When do you think he is his first start?
Well, hang on. Let's finish the record prediction. Then we'll do that because I like that question. So I've got 4 through New England, and then maybe they beat the Raiders. 5. 5 is like the ceiling for me.
Yeah, I'm going to say 4. I say they win 4 games.
Okay, what was the win total? 4.5?
5.5.
So
again, you're just under that.
So you mean to tell me that we both do this for a living and that we were in the right neighborhoods for the Giants, the Eagles, and the Commanders, but that we were both wildly off for the Cowboys? So it's almost as if what RJ said about there being an inability by most people to objectively evaluate the Cowboys.
Changing my Cowboys record prediction to 8-9.
I mean, it's almost as if RJ was right and being completely fair and rational, and BLG was just having his blind hatred on, which RJ also said was going to be the case.
8-9.
Okay, so we have them with 5 wins. 4. You said 4.
4.
So 4 and
a late bye, which seems bad for them in terms of like you want to maybe give that week to Jackson Dart.
Also, you get the bye after Monday Night Football, so they don't have to go through a short week. Kind of catering to the Maras is really what this looks like to me. Okay, so 2 questions for us to answer here. What week, because we both agree at some point Jackson Dart is starting, what week is his first start? And if he is fired, what is the week that the interim coach, whoever it is coaching the team?
I guess you're probably looking at that week 6 to week 7 turnaround, right? Because you have Thursday Night Football in week 6, and then you have the mini bye. So yeah, I think. And also, like, if you're if you're winless at that point, that seems like a pretty obvious.
Or if you're 1-5,
yeah, or 1-5, and you're coming off, especially like a loss at home to the Eagles, where let's say like Saquon goes off again. Like, I just think that would be a really fans are out for blood, everyone's out for blood, and they just don't survive that, which would be really weird for a team that brought them back to then I guess dump them a month into the season, but.
You're talking about this is the game that they dump Dable.
I'm saying that could be the earliest point of when it would be to me, but
I think this is for sure the Dart.
I was going to say they're not going to probably fire him before he at least gets to they're going to give him games with Jackson Dart before they fire him. Right. So I'm going to say they're going to flip the switch here to Jackson Dart.
I think Russ has like a big showing at New Orleans or maybe against the Chargers or the Chiefs, maybe against the Chiefs. Like, Russ plays well against the Chiefs, but they still lose. And so it's like, man, how could you bench this guy? I came to New York and, I didn't think I was going to get benched. I mean, Jackson went to Ole Miss. He can Ole Miss me. I'm QB1 around here. I really did lose the skill. It was such a skill to do a great impression. I lost it.
You're not doing it now, as you.
I know it's. I was trying to do it, but like I feel like I just can't throw the fastball anymore. You know what I mean? So
just like Russ, kind of.
Basically, but yeah. So to be clear, I think the Eagles are comfortably sweeping the Giants. So this isn't about that. But I think if you are like in the Giants building, if you're Dable and you're coping after the Thursday night loss, I think your thought is like, oh, well, Jackson can come in and we'll see these guys in 2 weeks, and we know that he can be the difference, so yeah, we're going to. So again, I'm not saying that works, but like we're trying to dive into the like poor mindset that they have going on here. That's why I think Jackson Dart's first start is October 19th at Denver.
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. I guess from the division games.
I'm sorry, but really quickly, did Russ play the Broncos last year? Did that happen?
I don't think the Steelers and Broncos played last year. I'm remember
checking
that
because we would be getting close to that point, obviously.
Oh, they did, but that was early in the season. I think I think Justin Fields was starting.
I'm looking at Russell's game logs.
Yeah. It was that was Justin Fields.
So
no.
Wow. So again, if we're kind of right, we would be around that New Orleans game. We'd be getting the like, especially if Russ has a good game at some point, right? It'd be the like, oh, he's going to get to go to Denver. He's going to get to prove to Sean Payton that he was the answer. And then he gets benched. Oh, the week before. Oh man, that'd be awesome. It'd be great theater.
I think we have the Giants going 0-6 in the division.
I have them beating the Saints. Oh, in the division?
In
Yeah.
the division, yeah.
Mhm.
Which game from their schedule, which division game from their schedule do you think is their best chance to win?
Week 1 at Washington.
Can I see the rest? Can you scroll down to the end? Because I want to see what's at the end there too.
Maybe actually no. This one.
I was gonna say that doesn't count. I'm not counting week 18 too, because if they're resting, that doesn't count. I'm not counting that.
No,
Which non-week 18 game?
It's either Washington game because they'll have had the whole off season to prepare for the season opener, or the bye week.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good call. And at home against Washington, yeah,
right.
I think that's a good call. So we think potentially that Washington could go 1-5 within the division. We think that's on the table, right?
Now, I'm going to offer my Dable prediction, which you kind of did. But so we agree that Jackson Dart is starting around this time. This is the window. Okay.
I think Dable gets canned at earliest, like I said, then if the team is absolutely just getting demolished each week.
Right. I agree. I think if Dable gets canned, because you're right, he's going to get games with Jackson Dart, right? But I think that it's conceivable. Say let's follow our hypothetical. Say he makes this start. It's conceivable they lose literally every single one of these games, right? Like they lose at Denver, at Philly, against the Niners, at Chicago, versus the Packers, at Detroit, at New England. Okay. So this would be really embarrassing, the New England thing, because it would be losing to Drake May, right? If he shines. And then it would also be losing to Mike Vrabel, who you could have theoretically gone after, right? So it would be, although they obviously had the Patriots-ness that you didn't, whatever. So it could be this, this could
maybe Will Campbell is shutting down Abdul Carter all game long.
Right. It would have to for him to get fired at this point and not let them, for them to not let him it would have to be something very embarrassing, right? You really proved that you were wrong in this sense. The Drake May thing isn't necessarily his fault, right? He couldn't have taken him last year.
Maybe they could have made a better effort to trade up.
But no, just hear me out. That's what I'm saying. If it's not this Patriots game, it's after this Vikings game.
Yeah.
Because if JJ McCarthy is good and just whips their ass, that's the dude, you told us that was not the guy.
Yeah, and then you could also be we're getting a head start on the coaching searches.
Yeah, so, you're close enough to the end here for sure. Yeah. Wow.
Do you think Shane gets fired with him, or do you think Shane gets to stay?
I think you got to make a.
I mean, they should. That doesn't mean they will.
I think that they will.
I think Shane might actually stay. I think Dable's on the hotter seat.
I think they fire them both, not because it's the smart thing to do, but because they are kind of like a package. It isn't, you know what I mean? It isn't just two dudes who got hired at the same time. It's that they came from the same place together.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's why, I think it's either all or not when it comes to.
It should be. I agree, but teams don't always do it that way. They often don't do it that way.
Anything else you want to get to before songs?
So, no.
Okay. I already added my song to the playlist, so I wouldn't forget. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So it's summertime. Hang on,
no, it's
wife,
not. It's not objectively not true. It is in fact spring.
I was texting my wife. She was on a plane. She just landed, so she's taking care of business. It's about to be summertime, and this is a very good summer song for me. In fact, a great summer band. I listen to all the time in the summer. It's not a plug, but I am friends with the lead singer, and he's a Niners fan, and so he checks out the Gold Standard Network. Micah Puchel is the lead singer for Iration, and the song is called Coastin'. Very summery sort of vibe they all have. I love their whole catalog. They're awesome. Iration's the best. But cool. Coastin' is the song that we're going with today. I believe we have a couple songs on the playlist already.
Oh, like a reggae/reggae rock.
Kind of, yeah.
That's how the vibe is good. On Wikipedia.
I'm telling you, the vibe is a very strong, chill vibe. Yeah.
I am going to go with something not chill, and in fact, really intense, and it is "Duel of the Fates" by John Williams
from Star Wars.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just listening to a Star Wars playlist the other day for no reason at all. And I obviously, know that song is awesome. It's under John Williams and the London Symphony Orchestra from inarguably the best Star Wars prequel movie, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. It is. That is easily the best prequel Star Wars there is. Which maybe you could say, oh, that's not saying a lot, but Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, some pretty awesome characters in that movie. Gone too soon. Spoiler alert.
I don't think that's true. I think it has the things I care about the most, like the pod racing scene, the video game that came from that. Like they're all tangentially related.
That.
Yeah, they're all tangentially related to episode 1. I would say episode 2 is the best. Although I agree
that's the worst.
I agree with David in saying Rogue One.
That's not a prequel. I'm not counting that as a prequel. I'm talking
Are you
about
in
the
on
prequel
Andor?
trilogy. Rogue One is a great movie, but that's not part of the prequel. I did see Andor, and it is obviously good. I don't think anyone could argue otherwise.
My wife and I are still in the middle of season 2. Are you saying you finished season 2?
Yeah, I'm finished season 2.
I have a story, but it involves spoiling Rogue One.
You can't do it.
I think we're okay. Like, especially if I say I'm about to spoil Rogue One.
Oh, Rogue One, the movie. Yeah, sorry, I think meant Andor. I was like, that's
no. Yeah, like it's been long enough. So for a long time, like a bit of mine would always be like if like I asked you before we started recording, like, did you watch Survivor last night? And if you had been like, no, I would like a bit. I would always be like, everybody dies like that. I would tell people that like all the time. Like,
you're
just
really creative.
And I was the only person who ever did this. And so when I said this about Rogue One, or when I saw Rogue One, I was like, holy crap. I was like, I can kind of say this right now. And it's kind of true. So yeah, it's kind of funny. Also, Rogue One, great initials.
I want to shout out Niels in the chat, loyal listener, huge BGN supporter, and good friend. And correct, yeah, that is kind of. So my problem with Star Wars and the Disney-fication, it's really not even just Star Wars; it's Marvel too. It is our good friend Rob Sesternino has phrased this as the Wikipedia entry-fication of everything. It's like where literally every single piece of lore has to have an explanation. Like, I get that from a content standpoint, obviously, but from like myth making and mystery, like sometimes you don't need to literally explain like and hold your hand on every single thing. Some things you could actually leave to imagination, and that is better and more fun. I think there's a balance to be struck there. Sometimes you don't, you can't just be like, there's things that are worth diving into and it's cool, and sometimes they do a good job with that, but other times it's just like, why did we do this? Who is this really for? Obviously, if I didn't already say, because I did not already say, Duel of the Fates from the epic battle between Darth Maul and Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I support going with a John Williams piece, by the way. That's a great move in general. Not the most, I think, iconic Star Wars song, but that's also a BLG move. Like,
what is the most iconic Star Wars song?
The introduction.
The theme.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, so I think that's great. The Wikipedia-ification of things, it like Marvel's even worse about it though. Like it's a full-time job to keep up with, like and then like it actually has contaminated my brain and like my ability to even just like casually enjoy things. And as an example, last time we did this, I used a song from Spidey and His Amazing Friends, which is a show that my son likes, and it's I don't know if you know, but it's Spider-Man, it's Peter Parker, Miles Morales, and Gwen Stacy, and they all have spider powers. Like, in the show.
I've seen this. My friend's daughter is a big fan of this.
Yeah, I mean, like, it runs counter, like, and is illogical relative to like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But like, my point is, like, I can't watch it and on some level not be like, well, how did this happen? You know what I mean? Like, and try to like logic it out, because that's how they do things now. It's pretty stupid. So, yeah.
All right, we're past the hour mark, so let's wrap it up. Imperial March are so good. Obviously, David Smith in the chat shouting out the Imperial March.
Yeah. Anything else?
No. Let's come back in. I don't know. Probably not too soon, because there won't be a ton to talk about. Ostensibly,
this is the like. This is it. This is the if you thought the off season was hard before, like it actually really starts now. I'm afraid. Like,
it's really like what OTAs coming up here.
Yeah,
not much you're really going to get from them unless there's a major injury.
That's what I'm saying. There's no more free agency, no draft, no schedule. Like this is the last doldrum. It's a long one though, so you gotta, if there's a show you've been meaning to start, now's the time. You know what I mean? Like, go for it. So,
but we'll be back with some of the, I think, off-season staples that we like to do in the past, like the All-Star team, maybe underrated, overrated, like those kind of things. Some of those concepts, I think, in June, July. Break up the monotony. Probably just doing it in part because we're bored because nothing else is going on. So be on the lookout for that. Also, quick plug for the Vox Media Union. Check that out. Check that out on social media and elsewhere. Just, give it a follow.
I took a picture of my dogs. They're both napping right now, and I'm texting it to you so you can see exactly what I just saw, and then we can leave.
I'm looking at this. My phone's over here. It's charging. I am looking at it, and okay, this is interesting to actually see. Oh, so you can look at this full other house here. This is an interesting fourth wall breaking moment for me, getting to see what you're actually, because you always look over to your right.
This is to my right. My left is the external monitor situation.
It looks like they're pretty comfortable. It looks like a comfortable couch.
It is. I mean, I don't ever sit on it. They do, but yeah.
It's not for you. You're just work only. It's just for your guests.
BLG. Guests. Knock knock.
Who is it?
Not me. That was the on Survivor in the final tribal council when David that was almost more awkward than him standing up.
I love the stand. I love him as a character. I think obviously he leaves things to be desired as a player, but you can't tell me he was not a great character.
I agree
to have on this season. He was because he was so he subverted expectations. He big meathead guy, but he had he wasn't just that. There was definitely parts of that, but he also is a self-ascribed kind of a dork, and that was a very dorky thing for him to do. So I enjoyed the season with him in it, and he was gone too soon, and he wasn't wrong about what he basically got voted out for.
All right, say anything you want, then we leave.
Anything I want, then we leave.